Welcome to the Learning for Legacy show with me, your host, Afam Onyenakala. This is all about the concept of making generational wealth understandable, practical, and accessible. I'll be exploring a range of topics and sharing conversations, interviews, and more. Because what good is building wealth if we don't build the people? Hello, and thank you for joining me on another edition of Learning for Legacy. Today, I'm going to do a bit of a case study summary exercise on a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. Now, when we look at the topic of success, personal development, personal finance, this particular book, along with other mainstays such as Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, this is a particular book that comes up a lot, and for very good reason. It's a book written by the author George S. Clason, and it's a book that deals with the personal successes of us all. And why this particular book has stood the test of time is that it's probably a lot to do with one particular statement he made. And he said that our prosperity as a nation depends on the personal financial prosperity of each of us as individuals. So I'm going to go through a few of the pointers from within this book and why this is actually quite a good key and roadmap towards assisting us in the journey of building generational wealth. So within this book, there are three key stages that he touches on in terms of money and how we use money and the purpose of money. So he talks about number one, acquiring money, number two, keeping money, and number three, using money. And for the first point, acquiring money, there's the suggestion that we should be paying ourselves at least 10%. Because often or not, when we earn income, a lot of the times that goes on obviously paying bills, living expenses and the like, but very rarely do people think about the idea of paying themselves first. So by paying yourself at least 10%, you're not just investing in yourself, but you're investing in your long-term future. Second point is keeping money. And that comes through the plan of seeking advice from those competent enough through their own experiences, whereby they can give you their advice. And so this has a lot to do with seeking out those who work with handling money where possible. The third point, using money. This is all about learning to make the money work for yourself. So in this context, what we find through looking at this book is that wealth ultimately grows wherever we as people exert energy. And through that, the statement has arisen whereby you can say that a part of all that I earn is mine to keep. And this directly ties into the first point of acquiring money, paying yourself at least 10%. Now, within this book, one of another areas that is particularly important is what is known as the 7 cures for a lean wallet. Now, this is all to do with what we can do to ensure that our wallets, our bank accounts, those vessels we use to store our income doesn't remain lean, but is always improving, increasing, which is going to be a direct benefit for ourselves and ultimately our families. So the first cure he talks about within this book is about saving, is about starting the process, the discipline of getting into it, whereby we can ultimately save 10% of what you bring in. Now, because it's a discipline, it means that it's not necessarily going to be easy when you start, but the repetition of the process, the intention and the repetition of the process will ultimately aid towards bringing results. So the discipline part is starting the process and beginning to execute. The second cure that he talks about is all about budgeting your expenses and control. And that is to be within the 9/10 of the income that you have coming in. Third point here is to make the saved money multiply. So the money that you've brought in, that you've saved, it's all about reinvesting those profits to produce compound interest. The fourth point, or the fourth cure for a lean wallet, he talks about this being in the realms of investment, where you are guarding that money from loss. This is where we can invest, where that principal will be safe, where it can be reclaimed, and ultimately it can get good interest. So this is where it's important for us to get wise counsel from people experienced in handling money. Fifth cure is all about owning your own home and getting onto the journey of owning your own home, because it's extremely important to ultimately make your dwelling a profitable investment. The sixth point, or the sixth cure for a lean wallet, is to do with ensuring a future income. This is all about a long-term financial plan where you can provide in advance for future needs of yourself and your family. The seventh point, or the seventh cure for a lean wallet that's talked about through this book, is a lot to do with education. This is to do with working harder on yourself to grow, to learn, to become more skillful, and to become wiser in the process. Because ultimately, the more you learn will translate into the more that you can earn. There are a few other really important points that we can take from this book that are very useful and particularly applicable. And one of them is this, that no man can arrive at a full measure of success until he or she has completely crushed the spirit of procrastination within him or herself. And that's a very good and very important point, because more often than not, the biggest battle that we face is not necessarily due to factors outside, but to do with factors within. It's all about the mastery of ourselves. The next point here, which is really insightful, is that to attract success to ourselves, it is necessary to take advantage of the opportunities that come our way. And by doing that and accepting these opportunities that come our way, by us taking action, it enables us to entice success. The other area that is touched on within this book is that called the 5 laws of gold, or if we look at it in modern terms, 5 laws of money, income, or profits, as it were. And the first point, or the first law, is all to do with saving at least 10% of your earnings to create an estate for your future and your family. The second law is that gold or money will willingly work if you find it profitable employment to multiply. So it's all about positioning ourselves so that the money that you possess can multiply itself. The third law is that this is protected when it's smartly invested under the advice of people wise enough in its handling. The fourth law is that this money will slip away from the person who invests it in businesses and methods that they're either not familiar with or are not approved by those skilled in its keep. And finally, the fifth law is that this money or gold will flee from the person who would force it into either impossible earnings or follow the advice of tricksters or those who trust it to their own inexperience and romantic desires in investment. thanks for listening to Learning for Legacy. To join our community or find out about what else we get up to, you can follow us on Twitter at Legacy Learning or on our website at www.legacylearning.co.uk. To access additional content or exclusives from this particular episode, please find the information within the show notes.